Okay, in the next couple lessons, we're going to be applying this factoring stuff to real world scenarios. So this is kind of, and pretty much when I go through these, the problems don't really vary that much. Okay, it's pretty much the same strategy throughout. You just get practice with different numbers and so forth. It says you have a 10 foot by 9 foot garden. If you add a uniform walkway around the garden, the area ends up as 306 square feet. Find the width of the walkway. Okay, now with these shape problems, because it's talking about a shape, I'm not going to go here, here, and here. You're not going to see those three boxes because it's a different kind of problem. There's really no units. It's an area talking about a shape. So first thing you ought to do is split the problem in half just like that, because there's different things that we're going to be doing. Okay, so first, anytime they talk about shape, you want to draw a picture, not a huge picture. Just go off this side and draw a rectangle, and then it's 10 by 9 feet, and then we're going to draw this border around the outside. Okay, now I measure the dimensions, okay? From here to here I know is 10. That's unknown, so I use X, and that's unknown, so I use X. And then right here, here to here is 9, and I'm going to use X and X to represent those outsides. I always use X because it's going to be the same throughout, so I'm able to use the same variable. So again, 10XX, 9XX. Okay, then I need to write my area expression, okay, just like I kind of did on some of those earlier problems. That's the length, that's the width. Okay, so we know that the length, there's two x's and then there's a 10, so that's going to be 2x plus 10. And then the width we know is 2x plus 9, so 2x plus 9. Okay, now what I need to do here is multiply this out using my step 1, step 2 procedure. Okay, so I've got 2x, so I take 2x times 2x. And then I go back to 2x. I'm going to be taking 2x times positive 9. And that takes care of that. I take then positive 10 times 2x. And then I'm going to take positive 10 times positive 9. Okay, so again, 1, 1, 1, 1, because when I'm multiplying this out, I like to see powers because we do things with the powers. So I take 2 times 2 is 4, and then on the x's I take 1 plus 1, that's 2, so 4x to the second. I take 2 times 9, that's 18, and we only have x to the first. I take 10 times 2, that's 20, and then we only have x to the first, and then I take 10 times 9, and that equals 90. Okay, so I'm going to check that because I just found all the answers. Now it's a matter of collecting like terms because I have a couple of powers that are the same. So I draw out my blanks. I go blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. So x to the seconds I have right here, and that's a 4. And we can cross that out. Now for x's, I'm looking to add the 18 and the 20, and that's 38x. And then I've got 90. Now, at this point in time, the area is actually equal to something. They tell me what the area equals, and that is equal to 306. Okay. So, I'm done with the first half of the problem. So now I just carry down this equation. I go 4x to the second plus 38x plus 90 equals 306. Okay, now look at your x's. I know that the x has 2 answers because it is to the second power. So there's going to be 2 answers to this equation. Anytime the x is to the second, there's 2 answers. And I've got x to the second and x. Well, those are not like terms, okay? So one's to the second and one's just a regular x. So they're not like terms that I can just add. So when I have 2 x's that are not like terms, you need to clear this side of the equation. So I subtract 306, and then 306 would match up with 90 because neither has an x. So I'm going to minus 306. So then I have 4x to the second plus 38x, and then I go to my calculator, I take 90 minus 306. And that's going to be negative 216, so I put minus 216, and then there's nothing else over here, so now it's equal to 0. Okay, so remember, when we got x squared, when we have two x's that are not the same, they're not like terms, you need to clear one side of the equation because you should have a 0. And now we have 1, 2, 3 terms. So with 3 terms, I'm going to set up my factoring boxes. So GCF. And then I'm going to go with my T-chart. And I will be asking myself what A equals after I find the T-chart. So GCF. So do I have a negative in front? The answer to that's obviously no. Do I have X on everything? The answer to that's obviously no, because 216 has no X. And then 438 and 216. So 4 is a pretty decent number. So factors of 4 would be 1, 4, and 2 and 2. Okay, so now what I need to do is see if these will divide by something from this list. Okay, so let's try 4, because that's the biggest number I came up with. So I take 4 divided by 4, that's 1. 38 divided by 4, that is not going to work because that's a decimal. Now let's try 2. Let's see if they're all divisible by 2. Yup. 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 So I'm going to divide by 2, but just 2, not 2x. So I factor out a 2, and then I divide all these by 2. Okay, so 4 divided by 2 is 2, and that's going to stay x to the second power. 38 divided by 2 is 19, and that's going to stay 19x, and then 216 divided by 2 is 108. Okay, so now I'm going to run my ABC test from here. Remember, this is where we're at. Everything else up to this point I just ignore, okay? So I take A times C, and I'll be taking positive 2 times negative 108, okay? And that gives me negative 216, so I'm looking for a difference that equals 19. Okay, so 216 divided by 1, that's going to be 216. 216 minus 1 is not 19, though. 216 divided by 2, so 2 and 108. 108 minus 2 is not 19, though. I got a minus, it's got to be 19. 216 divided by 3, so you divide by 3, and you get 72. 72 minus 3 is not even close to 19. 4 and 54. 54 minus 4 is 50. 216 divided by 5 is a decimal, so I don't even put it because it's not a factor. 216 divided by 6 is 36. 36 minus 6 is 30, though. I need it to be 19. 216 divided by 7 is a decimal. 216 divided by 8 is 27. So I'm going to put 8 and 27 down. I kind of ran out of room on my T, so I just go over here. And what happens if you take 27 minus 8? Oh, it's 19. Okay, so these are the two factors. Now we got to decide what signs they are. So look at that 19. Okay, it says plus 19. So you got to have plus 27. And in a difference, the signs can't match. They got to be the opposite. So minus 8. Okay. All right, so A is actually equal to 2 up here. See where I put A? There's a 2, okay? Okay, so that means we need 2 sets of parentheses here, okay? So 2 is what I lead off with, and then x to the second, I go x, and then I'm going to put minus 8 and plus 27. Okay, so 2 is my smallest factor out of these two, and out of these two, it's 2, okay? So 2 factors 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So can you divide these both by 2? Absolutely. So that becomes 1x minus 4. Okay. And then can you divide these both by 2? Well, 27 divided by 2 is a decimal, so therefore we really don't divide by anything. It stays 2x plus 27. Now that 2 right there, I usually drop down, but it does not have an x, therefore it's not a useful factor. Okay, so that 2 from up there, I carry down here. It's not a useful factor, so I just ignore it. That's going to be my F1, and that's going to be my F2. Okay, so 1x minus 4 could equal 0, or 2x plus 27 could equal 0. So I plus 4, 1x equals 4. I don't need to divide. Okay. Then I minus 27, I minus 27, 2x, 0 minus 27 is negative 27. And then I'm going to divide by 2 here, and even though that doesn't divide evenly, I'm going to divide it because on a story problem, I don't like to have fractions. Now, in a story problem also, if you get a negative answer, you need to get rid of it because this is the only answer, okay? 4 inches. So that border needs to be 4 and 4. 4 and 4 is what that means. So 4 is your answer. Okay, it's kind of a long process. You only have one problem to do. Okay, my next problem. A rectangular trivet has an 8-inch by 6-inch center and a wooden uniform border. If the area is 120 inches squared, how wide is the border? So again, I split that down the middle. And then I'm going to make this little picture off to the side so I know we got 8 inches by 6 inches. And then there's a border going around the outside. Okay, so then I need to measure the length and the width through here. Okay. So from here to here is 8. And this is x and x because I don't know it. From here to here is 6. X and x because I don't know it. Okay, so I'm going to set up a length times width multiplication. So that's length, that's width. So the length, we have 2 x's and then plus 8. The width, we have 2 x's and then plus 6. Okay, so with that being done, it's a step 1, step 2 process. Okay, so I take 2x times 2x. I'll go here and do it. I go back to the 2x and distribute 2x to 6, so 2x times 6, and that takes care of the first 2x. I'm done with that. I take 8 times 2x, and I take 8 times 6. 2 times 2 is 4, and again, I like to put powers of 1 when I'm multiplying x's together. 1 plus 1 is 2, so 4x to the second. It's going to be 12 with x to the 1. It's going to be 16 with x to the 1, and then 48. Okay, so I'll check that off, and then I've got blank x squared plus blank x plus blank. Okay, so x squareds, I got 4. For x's, I got 12 and 16. That adds up to 28, and then 48. Now this area is equal. Again, you can't forget that the area is equal to 120. So you need to put equals 120 after all that. Okay. So now I come down here. I write 4x to the second plus 28x plus 48 equals 120. So the x has 2 solutions to it because of the second power that's on the x. And again, I've got x second and I've got regular x. Obviously, those are not like terms, so we're going to have to use our boxes to factor. So to use that, we need to get rid of this 120. So I take 120 away. And then 120 can go with 48 because neither of them have x. And now we're at 4x to the second plus 28x. And then take 48 minus 120, and that's negative 72. So minus 72 and then 0. Okay, again, I got 1, 2, 3. As soon as I have the 0, I count the terms so I can set up my boxes. There's 3. So we'll be going with the GCF. and then I will be running my t-test. So GCF, do you have a negative in front? Nope. Do you have X on everything? Nope. 4, 28, 72. So let's talk about 4. Okay, so I've got 1, 4, and 2 and 2. So let's see if we can divide those all by 4. Well, I know 4 divides by 4. Does 28 divisible by 4? Yeah, it's 7. Is 72 divisible by 4? Yeah, it's 18. So 4 is the GCF, but not just 4. Now, I don't bring an X out with it because a 72 doesn't have an X to divide from. So I will be dividing these all by 4, and that becomes 1, and then that stays X to the second plus 7. That's going to be X, and then 72 divided by 4 is 18. Okay, so I go A, B, C, and then I take A times C, so A is 1, and C is negative 18. Okay, that's going to be 18 negative, and we're looking for a difference of 7, okay, because that's my B. 1 and 18, 18 minus 1 is not 7. 18 divided by 2 is 9, 9 minus 2 is 7, so there we have our 2. And now the B is plus, okay, so we put a plus on 9, and then a difference means you're going to have, they can't match up, so it's got to be minus 2. So it's plus 9 minus 2. Okay, this time I get lucky because A is actually equal to 1 here, okay? So due to the fact that A is 1, we need 2 parentheses, okay? So we're going to have XX, and then we're going to have minus 2 and plus 9. Okay, now I do have this GCF of 4, but because it's 4 and not 4x, I don't worry about that as a factor. This is F1, this is F2. That's an irrelevant factor. So x minus 2 can equal 0, or x plus 9 can equal 0. So I'm going to plus 2 and plus 2, so x equals 2. Then I could put a 1, I guess. And then I minus 9, so 1x equals negative 9. 0 take away 9 is negative 9, and then negative 9, okay? All right, again, the negative answer, I'm glad I got it, but I can cross it off in the end, okay? So the width of this border is 2 inches, okay? 2, 2, 2, 2, to give me an area of 120. Okay, and then this one here I'm going to do, and then you just got this problem right here. A rectangular pool has dimensions of 40 by 20 feet. A uniform border is added around the walkway, creating our area of 1,125 square feet. Find the width of the border. So again, whenever I'm solving a shape problem, first I want to write everything out for the area, and then I'll worry about solving the equation down here. So we got this rectangle, it's 40 by 20. And we're going to build this around the outside. So I got to measure my dimensions, okay? So we got 40, we got x, and then we got 20x, and then x. Okay, so we set up my length times my width, the parentheses. So now we're going to have 2x plus 40 for the length. And the width is 2x plus 20. Okay, so number 1 and number 2. Okay, so I take 2x, okay? 2x times 2x. And 2x times 20, and that means I'm done with 2x. Then I take 40 times 2x and 40 times 20. Okay, so put 1s on those, okay? So we know what powers they are. So that's 4, 1 plus 1 is 2. That's 40, and that's just the first power. 40 times 2 is 80. and that's a first power. And then 40 times 20 is 800, okay? Okay, so now that's done. I go blank x squared plus blank x plus blank. So x to the second, I've got 4. For x, I've got 40 plus 80, that's 120, and then 800. Okay, and that equals the area, but they tell me the area is 1,125. So you got to remember to put that equals, otherwise the problem's like screwed up. So now I bring this down here. 4x to the power of 2 plus 120x plus 800 equals 1,125. Okay, so there's two answers because of the second power. When I need to solve an equation, I always need to list how many answers I'm actually trying to figure out starting now, okay? Second power means there'd be two answers. And since we got x to the second and regular x, I got two x's that are not like terms. We need to move everything to one side so we're able to factor it. So, equals, we know we have 0 there, so I'm going to have 4x to the second plus 120x, and then I take positive 800 minus 1,125, and that's negative 325. Okay, and of course we end up with a trinomial, so GCF, and then my T-chart. Okay, so our GCF, well, do I have a negative in front of the 4? No, I don't. Do I have X on all the numbers? No, I don't. 4, 120, and 325. So 4 is what I'm going to look at because it's smallest. So factors of 4 are 1, 4, and 2, and 2. So let's see if we can divide them all by 4. Well, I know 4 divides by 4. Does 120? Yep. No, that's a decimal, so I cannot use 4. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can divide them all by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 120 divided by 2 is 60. 325 divided by 2, that's a decimal. When I'm factoring, I don't want decimals. Okay, and that leaves me with 1. So that means we don't do anything here, okay? So then I'm going to have to run the ABC from up here since I wasn't able to do anything about the GCF. So I take A times C. So I take 4 times negative 325. And it's negative 1,300. Ouch. Okay. So it's a negative, so I'm looking for a difference that is going to equal what the B is, which is 120. Okay. So 1,300. 1,300 minus 1 is not 120. 2 and 150. 2 and 650, sorry. 650 minus 2 is not even close to 120. 1,300 divided by 3 is a decimal, so I don't bother. 1,300 divided by 4 is 325. 325 minus 4 is 321. That's not going to do the job. Divided by 5, it's 260. 260 minus 5 is not going to get the job done because that's 255. It's not 160. 1,300 divided by 6 is a decimal. 1,300 divided by 7 is a decimal. 1,300 divided by 8 is a decimal. Still haven't found it, so I just keep going. That's a decimal. 1,300 divided by 10 is 130, so I can actually put that down. Okay, 130 minus 10 is 120, so there I have it. It's these two. And the B, where I put the B, that's plus, so you got to have plus 130, and difference mean they got to be the opposite. Okay, they cannot match on a difference. They match on a sum, but not a difference. Okay, A unfortunately is equal to 4 here where I did the A, so I'm going to need to use two sets of parentheses. So I'm going to lead off with 4, x, and then minus 10 and plus 130. So 4 is obviously my smallest one in each one. So factors of 4, I've got 1, 4, 2, and 2. 1, 4, 2, and 2. Now let's see if we can divide. Well, I can't divide 10 by 4. It's not divisible. You can divide them both by 2, obviously. So I divide by 2, and that's 2x minus 5. Get rid of that. You can't divide these both by 4 because 130 divided by 4, look at what happens. It's a decimal. Let's see if we can divide by 2. I can. I get 65. So I divide these both by 2, and it's going to be 2x plus 65. And there was no GCF to worry about, so that's F1 and that's F2. So we set each one equal to 0. So 2x minus 5 equals 0. 2x plus 65 equals 0. So I plus 5, 2x equals 5, and then I divide by 2. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So I want to divide these at the end of the problem, even if they might be decimals. Okay, because on a story problem, it's better to have decimals than fractions. I subtract 65 from both sides, so I have 2x. 0 minus 65 is negative 65. Then I divide by 2. Negative 65 divided by 2 is negative 32.5. Okay? So that's a negative answer. So the real answer is 2.5. So it's 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches to give us our area of what they say the area is, which is